So we are continuing in Tractate Nedarim, and the title today is "A Visitor Takes Away a 60th of the Sickness." We learned in a Baita the mitzvah of visiting the sick has no prescribed measure. You said in davening every day, "Elu devorim she'ein lahem shiur." These are the things that have no prescribed measure. It's the mitzvah of visiting the sick. What is meant by no prescribed measure? Rabbi Yosef initially thought it meant that there is no measure for its reward. And you get so much reward, you can't even measure it. That's what Rabbi Yosef thought. Said Abaye to him, why single out the mitzvah of visiting the sick? Is there then a measure for the reward for any mitzvah? If you're saying that this mitzvah doesn't have measure, you're implying that other mitzvahs have measure. After all, we learned in a Mishnah, be as scrupulous in performing a minor mitzvah as a major one, for you do not know the reward given for the prospective mitzvot. You don't know, so don't say, "Oh, I'm going to neglect this one. I'm going to do the other one because the other one." You have no idea
the balance that's there
of what the reward is for which and what.
Situation.
Right. But Abaye explained, no prescribed measure means even an older person must visit a young person who is not yet bar mitzvah. So if God forbid a child is ill, an older person also has an obligation to visit him. One guy is 7 years old, the kid is 12 years old, you have an obligation to visit him. That's what he thought of no prescribed measure. It doesn't have to be your colleague, it doesn't have to be in your age. Rava said, no prescribed measure means even 100 times a day. You go as much as it's needed.
That's what I thought.
Provided it does not inconvenience the patient.
Exactly.
Rav Acha ben Chanina said, whoever visits a sick person takes away a 60th of his suffering. Abaye said to Rava, if that is the case, let 60 people visit him at the same time and make him feel better immediately. Right?
Yeah. But take 1/60th.
That doesn't work that way.
So he replied, the 60th we are talking about is similar to the 10th that was discussed in the yeshiva of Rabbi. And it applies only when the visitor and the sick person were born under the same constellation. Wow. Meaning they were born at the same time, the same hour.
Wow.
For we learned in a Baisa, in the case of a woman who got married and stipulated in her ketubah, in her marriage contract, she stipulated that all her daughters should receive a dowry from her husband's estate. Let's say she had daughters, maybe divorced or a widow. Now she's her second marriage, and she says to the new husband, she wants all her daughters to receive a dowry, right, from the husband, from the husband's estate. Rabbi said a daughter who must be given a dowry from her brother's estate, which they inherited from their father, receives a 10th of the estate. So they asked Rabbi, according to you, if a man leaves 10 daughters and 1 son, the guy passes away and he has 10 daughters, 1 son. The son receives nothing and the daughters take everything. Rabbi replied, the first daughter to get married receives a 10th of the estate, the second a 10th of the estate, and the second a 10th of what is left, the third a 10th of the remainder, and after they all receive their share, they pool their money and divide it equally. But a substantial amount is left for the brother Similarly, in the case of visiting the sick, each visitor takes 1/60th of what the previous visitor left over, and the sick person would not recover completely. So it helps, but it's not helping him completely.
Why don't we have a database?
to know about